It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Well, today we're going to jump on the Sharp Interactive board. I want to go through Brothers' first half of their FY ending March of 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, as I was going through Brothers' financials, I started thinking about our friends over at Epson. I started thinking about Rizzo. I started thinking about Kyocera and Sharp. You know what all these folks have in common? They know how to make money. They all make operating profit. And when we think about Konica Minolta, we think about Ricoh. Over these last few years, they've really struggled at really knocking it out of the park, if you will, with profit. And you have to ask yourself, why is that? Both Konica Minolta and Ricoh went on shopping sprees, and they bought up some assets to help them deliver alternative services into those customers that they sold print to. But it appears that the integration of those other deliverables isn't panning out, isn't paying off. Because this isn't something new to either one of those folks. They've been doing it for over a decade. And so you have to ask yourself a question. Is the Epsons of the world, the Sharps of the world, the Kyoceras of the world, the Brothers of the world, the Rizzos of the world, do they have a better strategy to come in and just disrupt the print business and figure out how to disrupt the print business, and when they disrupt it, be more profitable and wipe out some competitors? And folks, I got to tell you, that's probably the strategy. Brother has some aspirations. But when I look at Brothers' history over the last 10 years, I'm not sure that their aspirations are all in to really go in there and bust up and change the game around print. I think that might be a temporary aspiration. But Brothers got a long history of innovation. But Brother also has some consistencies that concern me, and I'll share those in today's episode. But here's the reality. Brother knows how to make money. And we got to make money, right? Nothing works if we don't make any money. And we can only fool people for so long. Eventually, we got to actually make money, right? So without any further ado, let's jump on the Sharp Interactive board, and I want to share my thoughts. Let's talk about their first half top line revenue for all of Brother was $2.9 billion. They had a $273.7 million operating profit. Again, I think the folks over at Brother could put a class together for our friends at Ricoh and Konica Minolta and teach them how to make operating profit. You know, I say that kind of jokingly, sarcastically, maybe snarky, if you will. But at the end of the day, something's got to give in those two organizations. They've got to get more profitable. Let's see what's going on over here. So we know that Brother has this printing and solutions group, and that's really what I want to focus on right now. The printing and solutions group for Brother is $1.7 billion for the first half with an operating profit of $168.9 million. Again, they know how to make money. I mean, folks, we're at 9% operating profit. So there's nothing wrong with that. They're doing a great job there, right? We also know Brother has different divisions. Let me just go through those. We got the printing and solution business. We got the machinery business, the Domino business, the Nissan business, the personal and home business, and the network and contents business. I do want to clarify that this personal and home business has nothing to do with print. That's more about their sewing machines and stuff in that category. But folks, the printing business, the printing and solutions business is by far the bulk of their business. It's $1.7 billion for the first half, so you're looking at what is that going to be? A $4 billion business, $3.7 billion business for the year for them. So let's look at their forecast. So their forecast for the printing and solutions group is $3.7 billion. They want to have an operating profit of $313.8 million. I don't see why they're not going to get that number. The number will probably be a little bit higher if the yen doesn't get straightened out pretty quick. I mean, we're getting a lot of extra revenue based on the yen, folks. And I just to be clear, all the numbers that I'm presenting today in dollars are based on the yen being at 137, 137 to the dollar. And we know that yen's been kind of all over the place, but it's the weakest it's ever been in like 3 decades. But their total for the whole company, they want to do $6.1 billion. So you can see that printing and solutions group is over half of their revenue. And, we also all know that the print business is declining, right? Ladies and gentlemen, this slide was in their presentation, and you'll see over here on the other side of the screen, I have a slide with some HP information on it. And folks, this slide is a little bit interesting to me because I think it shares a story that's in common with our friends over at HP. The supply business is down. The supply business is down at Brother. The supply business is down at HP. The supply business has been down at HP for the entire year. For the last 4 quarters for HP. The last quarter, it was down 10%. And folks, the same thing's kind of going on over here at Brother. we know that Brother pretty much is a big player in that Soho marketplace. I mean, basically, the top two players in the Soho marketplace, the world would probably agree, is Brother and HP. I mean, there's a lot of Brother Soho printers out there. We know that Brother has aspirations to move more into that business print space. We'll talk about that in a minute. But folks, the supply revenue is down. The sales growth rates for laser printers were plus 23%, and the sales revenue growth rates for inkjet printers were plus 16% for the hardware, and 12% negative for consumables on the laser, on the inkjet, and 20% decline for consumables on the laser. So the supply business is declining. The revenue growth, a lot of that's contributed to the yen for the most part. But it's just something to start thinking about. When the two major players are seeing consumable revenue declines, that's something we need to be paying attention to. I've been telling you all for a long time, we got good salespeople. They can go schlep printers and copy machines to people all day long, but they can't make them use them. And I think we're selling more than people are using them. That's a problem. But folks, inside their presentation, on the website of Brother, they have this it's kind of like a midterm report, and the title of this thing is At Your Side 2030. And they're trying to plan out where they're going to be by 2030. And it was interesting to me, and they have their purpose, their approach, and their focus. But I want to read this, and I want everybody out there that sees these OEMs with their purpose, their approach, and their focus, kind of read what they're saying, because folks, I've talked about this before. These are just buzzwords, and they're just permissions to show up. These don't give me that excitement that we're going to go into the marketplace and really disrupt something and change the game. We're going to go into business print, completely eliminate those oversold, overspec A3s and deliver Brother robust A4s to give those end users a better experience with a lower price and a lower cost to operate. I mean, if it represents 50% of their business, double down on it. Get bold. If you want to go in there and disrupt that A3 marketplace with A4, get bold right in your vision statement, right in your mission, right up front. Don't be afraid of it. Challenge the status quo. Here's what they're saying, our purpose. By being at your side, we enable people's productivity and creativity, contribute to society, and help protect the earth. I get it. We're afraid to be too bold in our press releases. You know what? The industry that represents over 50% of your revenue is in a complete disruption. The supply business is declining. It's going to take boldness, bold leaders to go shake it up. I'm challenging you, brother. Go shake it up. You got the opportunity, right? Folks, this is their aspirations through 2030. And I just want to go really quick, and I want to share a couple of my thoughts with this. So for FY 2022, which will end in March of 2023, they want to do 720 billion yen, which comes out to $5.2 billion. Well, they're going to blow that number out, mainly because of the yen, okay? The difference in the yen price probably when they put this together. But folks, they're going to do 6.1 billion. That's 840 billion yen. They're not saying they're going to be there until 2024. So they need to update this slide at the very least. And by the way, I've put all these numbers together based on the 137 yen. But look over here at 2030. Their industrial business, they want it to be 3.6 billion. They want their printing business to be 2.9 billion. And basically, that's where it is right now. Pretty much. And it's probably going to do more than that this year. And so that's a little bit concerning to me. Have they just gave in and said that the printing business is just going to be flat at best? We're going to try to maintain. We're not really going to try to grow it. We're not going to try to change the game. Because here's the deal, and here's the challenge for Brother and everybody else in the marketplace. If you want to go disrupt business print, you got to disrupt A3 business print. Brother, go disrupt A3. Don't worry about disrupting A4. And I think a lot of these folks that have these great A4 products, they go into the marketplace and they're just trying to disrupt the A4 products. The potential is taking out all these A3s. You talk a little bit about this. Okay? I've heard the conversations from Brother about how you're going to go and it's the smaller machine and quit overspeccing and overselling. But you got to be really bold about that. And quite honestly, I'd rather see you going into the marketplace with inkjet-based products than laser-based products, because ink is really the future. So that's something that I really have a struggle with Brother. Brother has ink technology. I wish they would put that ink technology in those A4 MFP so they could go disrupt the A3 marketplace. But here's the problem, folks. We're going all the way to 2030. I mean, that's 8-year spread, folks. And I don't see them really trying to attain much more than they got today. And that's a little scary to me. I want to share this slide with you. So this one here is Brother's history. 1928, the sewing machine. Folks, you could see they got into the print business in the 80s. They had some fantastic fax technology, right? I think Brother was one of the first all-in-ones, right? The first all-in-ones, remember that? God, that was amazing. I remember selling some of that stuff. But ladies and gentlemen, the problem is the print business. The print business can be disrupted, could have a little bit of growth for maybe 4 or 5 or 6 years if you really got in there and could take over that and own that business print and move it from A3 to A4. But throughout their whole history, and they have been innovative, the problem is over the last 10 years, when you look at their numbers, let me share this with you, they're flat. They're a very consistent flat company. Now, some people could say, well, Ray, flat's good if you make an operating profit. And I would say that, Brother makes operating profit. They're between that 9 and 12% in operating profit. They're very consistent at that, so they make money. That's a great thing. But when you look at their revenue from 2011 to 2021, and these would be billions of dollars, but $5.4 billion in 2011, 2021, they're $5.7 billion. And keep in mind, back in 2021, the yen was 82.11 to the dollar. Today, it's 137. So if you factor in the foreign exchange rate, folks, they're flat. They're a little down. And even though they've been innovating all this time, they don't seem to really have a spike in growth. They don't really seem to have a bold enough mission statement to go in there and do something crazy. They want to substitute the decline in print with more industrial business, but unfortunately, that doesn't help them really grow that company to the double digits of the billions, if you will. Can they be a $10 billion company? Well, if you looked at their financials and you looked at their history, you would probably say, I don't see how that could be possible. Could they be a $7 billion company? Maybe, if the yen keeps getting weaker. But folks, they want to disrupt the marketplace. They really do. They talk a little bit about this around the print piece. I just don't think they're acting bold enough. And I'm going to end it with this slide. And this slide is look, anybody that's on a board of a $6 billion company, they deserve respect, absolutely. But here's the reality, my friends. We've got to, as an industry, decide, what do we really want? Okay, we got to transition. If 50% of our business is coming from print, we know print's declining, we have an opportunity to completely disrupt that over the next 6 or 8 years and be one of the major players in that disruption and benefit by disrupting it. We could play along in that space for the next 5 or 6 or 8 years and be mediocre and try to develop other programs and processes to help us innovate outside of print. But at the end of the day, while we're doing all these things, we have to make money. But folks, this board and the board, and I'm going to look at all the boards now because this one just kind of popped out at me as I was going through Brother's presentation, but I'm going to dig into this deeper on all the OEMs. I want to turn my Sharp interactive board on and I want to make some circles. And I want all of you to start thinking about this. Whether you're an OEM or whether you're one of my dealer friends, what's the governance of your company? Are you willing to bring in some outsiders to shake shit up, as they say? We gotta destroy status quo. We gotta really challenge ourselves to transition. Ladies and gentlemen, look at this. The directors and the chairman, he's been there since 79. That's okay. He's the chairman. Okay, but look at these dates. 83, 85, 84, 87, 84. So our directors are from the 80s and the 70s. Seriously, we got to have some diversity in younger generations in there, folks. We can't have a bunch of old men try to help us transition our businesses. And I know that Brother knows this, and I know Brother probably gets heat to be more diverse in their board. They probably do. We have one female, and she's an independent director, and she joined the airlines business in 1979, 1970, 1974, 1976. 1977. Folks, you get the point. We're too old. And I can say that because I'm an old guy. But we got to get some younger blood in really big senior roles in these organizations. Even some of those dealer friends of mine. You're not going to be able to do this on your own if you're in your 70s or late 60s. And you know why? You know why I believe that Brother has been pretty steady with their revenue and they haven't had any real big growths or anything. Let's just call them steady average, which isn't really good if you want to grow your business. It's okay to make money and be steady at that, but you got to have some growth aspirations, and they don't seem to have any. And you know why? I'm convinced it's because they're way too damn conservative. That's the reality. They're too old. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. My human resource person's off today. But ladies and gentlemen, are our boards too old? When you look at the conglomerates back there in Japan, are they too old? Do we need to bring in some younger talent and get some younger talent on these boards from outside industries to really help shake things up and transition these companies? I absolutely believe we need to do that. That needs to be priority number one. Because at the end of the day, it's just by nature. You know, I'll turn 62 in March and I'm already starting to become a little bit more conservative. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you can't risk wealth when you're in your 60s because you don't have enough time to make back a bad mistake. And so you become by nature a little bit more conservative. And at the end of the day, when you look at the composition of Brother's board, and these are the other boards as well, and like I say, I'm going to dig deep into all the boards, but I challenge Brother. And I challenge our whole industry. And if we really want to transition and shake things up, let's bring people to the table that'll shake things up. Because everybody watching me knows this. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.